Alrighty, we're back with podcast number 2. We got 2 very special guests. Sean Burrell is not here at the moment, but he will be joining us shortly. He is downstairs doing other work. We have Jason Burgess and Mike Burrell, 2 guys who have a history in karting. Not only have they spent most of their adolescence and adult life racing karts and being around motorsports, they're also the founders of USAC Karting, which recently had the runs with Battle at the Brickyard and the Elkhart Grand Prix. So we're going to start off with Mr. Jason Burgess. Going over a little bit of notes I've jogged down just from my memory of you and what I learned. You've raced with OMG Karting. You ran with Minicart. You've spotted for sports cars and Indy cars. You're the head flagger for vintage karts, USAC Racing, Margay Ignite Challenge, and a couple of SIRA. You've worked at Shadow Graphics. You've been on Good Morning America, I believe, for brief moments. And as a flagman, you're known for being very outgoing. Mike Burrell, from what I've known over the years, is that he's ran with multiple karting teams. He has raced multiple karting teams, spotted for IndyCar. He is a cop at Purdue University, helped create USAC Karting. He spotted for IndyCars at 24 Hours of Daytona. Also ran in the Granja 500, if I'm not mistaken, the 24-hour kart race. MG Tire Distributor, worked for Scott Sharp, Buzz Kalking, I believe, and did some time in IndyCar. So we'll start off with Jason, if I missed anything. Did some time.
Like it's a prison sentence to work in IndyCar racing. I love it.
Depends who you talk to. From what I've heard, it might be like that. So Jason, we'll just start with you. How'd you get into karting, and how'd you end up where you are right now?
How did I get into karting? I grew up with USAC. Like, Dad was mechanic with Midget Series and all that. Crew chief there throughout the 80s. Just kind of grew up in it, and then honestly, I think Bryce Kenyon, when I was like 18, 19, took me to Stefan Johansson's indoor karting, and like that was the first taste of getting into karting. And then we'd run these Sunday night leagues. You guys, Ricky Woodward had shown up. Boris said that's when they're in town, they'd show up. And I actually started racing in midget stuff for a couple years. And then I didn't want to quit racing, and I got into karting with the Collada family and got hooked up with Margay, and then met Audie through Shadow Graphics, and then it really just took off from that point with Audie and OMG.
Okay, and then so how'd you work in from karting to going over onto the like getting in an IndyCar and how you do flagging and all that? Like, was USAC your first time doing flagging, or how'd that happen?
It actually kind of started with, I think Tony Weiske's been my mentor the entire time with SIRA, and he'd have a family trip on Father's Day, and we were running Brazil in the park, and I don't know who had the idea, but it was, hey, Jason, would you be interested? And here's some flags. And that's pretty much how it took off there, and it was once a year there. Then I actually came down here to Whiteland with Mike Swells, and he had me flag a couple of different times for him, and then it was just kind of off and on. And then Mike called me for Battle at the Brickyard and the Elkhart Grand Prix. And at the time, I had a spotting gig with a sports car team, and so I couldn't do Battle at the Brickyard. I hadn't done any national races before that. And then literally 3 weeks before the event, it was a text to Mike. It's like, hey, got a slight problem. Still need a head flagman for Indy. And Mike's response was, I'm not sure if this is a good conversation or a bad conversation, but you're in. And the rest is really history. We talked about it, and he's like, do it up. Because we're going to do the whole white coat for Elkhart as a whole. With a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, you had the 80cc's were like big with the shifter stuff at the time. So it's like just 80cc's probably going to be one of the bigger classes at the time. So we'll do throwback retro weekend at Elkhart, do the white coat and all that stuff. Well, when Indy opened up, like first question Mike was, how do you want me to do it? And he's like, do it up. White coat to the nines, everything.
Now, when you say white coat, people don't know, that was like a 1960s throwback to like IndyCar, right, with white coat?
The white coat goes back to Pat Vadan. He made that famous at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it actually goes way back decades before that even, probably half a century. Because back then, everybody, it was dressed up, suits, ties, whole 9 yards. It was just going out anywhere. It was actually dressing up and going someplace.
Right.
And it wasn't like it wasn't mandated. It kind of became more of like a code of honor. Was all the guys, I mean, even all the way up through Dwayne Sweeney at Speedway was the last guy that wore the suit and tie. And that's something we kind of miss seeing that style thrown back at it. And
Oh, it looked very professional when you did it. Now, just a little bit of background on that. It was first weekend in July. If I'm not mistaken, it may have been 110 degrees with 100% humidity, and you're wearing a suit and tie out in the sun. How was that?
I think Doug Bull said it best in 2019. He put his arm around me at the end of the day, and he looks at me. He's like, did somebody drop water on you? Or is that sweat? Because it was like 104.
Yeah.
And I did not take the suit off when we started till when we got done on Sunday. And I definitely did some kidney damage that weekend. But Doug comes up to me like, is that sweat? Is that water or is that sweat? Oh, that's me, and gave him a hug. And it's like, yeah, you lose a couple pounds doing it.
So did you get involved? Because now you and Burrell are both known as like the head guys for USAC karting as far as the karting side of it goes. Were you involved from the start, or was it Mike kind of brought you on in?
Mike brought me on, and then Randy Kugler and I were talking in the trailer because the old start-finish line by the party deck, it was literally Tom Thielen, Randy, and myself back there, and that was it. And this was like my first foray into like big-time karting was Battle at the Brickyard. Okay. I'd never done anything over about 15 to 20 karts on track at one time. Rick told me like Friday or Thursday evening during the meeting, is like, you're in charge of the clock for the weekend. Like, oh, okay. Cool. Never done that before. And Randy said it best was during one of the races, like he looks at it like, this is really special right now. This event that everybody's put together, it's club racing meets national. Everybody's having a good time. They're respecting where they're at, and they're enjoying the moment. They don't care if they win. They don't care if they finish 10th. They don't care if they finish 30th. And that really, between those words, and then I would walk out from the start-finish line, walk down towards Oval Turn 4, and I'd look over at the pagoda and see the carts coming at us during, like on cool-down lap or on the pace lap or formation lap, and I just look out and I'd get goosebumps. And it's just what Mike really put together, and he'd been working on it for like 8 to 10 years, and just we were running karts at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Absolutely.
It doesn't get any more real for grassroots racing in general than to be doing that.
Right. And I did forget to mention Rick Folks, by the way. I don't want him to get mad at me.
No, yeah, exactly.
Elkhart, Rick Folks was also a major part of that, too. Unfortunately, couldn't be here.
Yeah, and that's Mike put everything together. He got the crew. He had talked to Rick during the off season, and then I think the first conversation with Rick was on the phone like 2 weeks before the event. It was like right out of the gate, the warning was, by the way, I'm a little different.
From Rick or from Mike?
No, I think Mike gave Rick the warning as well.
Okay.
But then like the first sentence out of my mouth to Rick's like, I'm a little different. So just be prepared. And all of us really just, it gelled. It was lightning in a bottle. And then the thing was, we had no complaints after the weekend from anybody.
Right.
Like you always, event planning, you kind of strive to look for the negative stuff so you can make improvements. The problem with Indy was we had nothing negative came in after the first running.
Right.
So then we go into Elkhart. It's like, okay, how's this going to work? And there was it was weird. Indy, it gelled. And then starting up at Elkhart, there's a little bit of a gelling issue the first couple sessions. And we figured it out in a hurry and just sorted it out on our own. And then it was lightning in a bottle part 2. And right. It was very bizarre for 2 really big events. And it went that well with the team and just the adhesion we had between Mike, Rick, Randy, my dad, myself, Jim Fry, Tom Thielen, just your core group of guys that were involved.
Right.
From the get-go, and it really gelled and really took off, and we've really become family since day one at Indy with this deal.
Well, that's something I was wondering too, because I ran 80s back when the first year Elkhart was one of the bigger events, and I very fortunately got the opportunity to announce at Buckeye Karting Challenge when you were flagging it, and I was with Randy Kugler, and Rick Folks was there also as well, I believe, as involved as officials. And I was kind of wondering like how you guys meshed so well. And then we went out that first night. I believe we went to Texas Roadhouse, and I saw Randy Kugler on a bull for his birthday. I don't know if you saw that video or not.
Oh, we shared.
Well, do you remember that, or am I just I have the day right, don't I?
Wow, Caleb.
Randy, if you listen to this, you know I love you, and I'm sure he's going to come with me on his podcast. But I'm just saying, when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is why the event works out so well, is because you guys all get along. This is not a diss on Randy. Yeah, it was a birthday bowl. They put him on top of it, and we all sang happy birthday.
The best part was I completely forgot about because my birthday's in May, and I'm always at the Speedway, so I don't. Who cares about my birthday? It's
right.
May. You're at the Speedway. It's a punt every year.
We all care about your birthday, Jason.
That means a lot. And the funny thing is they bring the bull out, and hey, it's Randy's birthday. I completely spaced the fact it was my birthday tomorrow, or the day after that. So
I forgot.
Yeah.
So
Sunday. Oh man, Randy, when he found that out,
yeah, he took it like a champ. He did the whole rigmarole.
But no, it just really gelled, especially after Elkhart. We talk all the time, and it's funny. Mike and I, especially during event planning like Brickyard stuff, we're on the phone constantly, just going through stuff. And
every night at dinner, if you ask my wife.
Every night at dinner.
That's pretty accurate.
I'm sure Mrs. Burrell loved that one.
I mean, it just the core group. It got put together, and the best part is we've been able to bring in different people like Scott Benton from Buckeye. And bring him into Indy to work with us, and Elkhart and Kevin Chrisman, who works at TNT and Quincy in the Park. And it just we got to bring in different people, and they get to see a whole different world working with us. And it's just like you said, the intro is Mike's experience of racing, my experience of racing, Rick and Randy's experience of racing. It really adds to the program, and you have a lot of mental notes to fall back on from stuff that's happened from IndyCar, sports car, anything really that helps make these events work behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And it's a great core group. I noticed it when you guys let me have the chance to apply to announce for about the Brickyard, and I was with Randy. One lesson I always learned is as the announcer, you have no input with anything. Like, no one really cares what you say. You're not putting in the work. You're just behind the mic calling what's happening. But Randy has all that experience of being in karting for so long. His dad owned Adkins Raceway. I believe it was Kugler Raceway at the time, and he just brings all that knowledge into it. But no, you guys run a great program. So moving on to Mr. Burrell, since you're there from the beginning, first off, was USAC Karting only supposed to be a one-race show, or was it just stars aligned and Elkhart and Indy at the same time? And how did it all start?
I guess the stars kind of aligned on that. It kind of by accident, you know. We had talked about I talked about Tony George Jr. going back to like 2010 doing a race at the Brickyard. And then Randy Bernard brought a bunch of the karting people together. They couldn't all make it work as a group show. And then when Dan Weldon got killed, that kind of put the brakes on it all because he was such a big karter and a big part of IndyCar. And then a few years went by, Tony Jr. and I were at lunch again, and we're like, hey, why don't we look at doing that again? This was, 2016 or so. And like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And we took a bunch of barriers over there and called up a couple people that I hoped could keep their mouth shut that they were running an Indy. And we took some carts over there and ran around and said, yeah, this is feasible. Connor Daly helped a lot and put in some input on some turns and everything, and we made it happen. At the same time, Elkhart's new mayor at that time, Tim Neese, had put out a thing that, you know, he wanted to bring events like the Grand Prix back. And so I know a couple other people had approached him on it, and I sent him an email cold turkey and just said, hey, this is how we would do it if we were doing it. And he's like, I really like how you guys, you know, it's an event. Elkhart is it's more than a race. The
whole town gets behind it.
The whole town's behind it. You got 6,000-7,000 people out there watching. There's concerts Friday and Saturday night. There's fireworks show that rivals about anything. I was really hoping the guy would stop at some point so people would get back to work, or go home. But it's an event. There's stuff to do for the whole family. It's free, and like I said, it's nothing cooler than we did the podiums in 2019 on stage with Clayton Anderson, the country singer, who's the headline act. He stopped his show three songs into the show so we could do the podiums on stage. And
I remember that. That was
so
really cool to watch.
Carters were getting their trophies with 5,000-6,000 people watching them, and that's a pretty big deal for karting. And so yeah, it just kind of all came about by accident. USAC is sitting board member of ACUS, and ACUS FIA said they needed a good presence in karting and other junior grassroots forms of motorsports. So we just kind of started the karting thing, and haven't 100% decided what to do with it yet on the bigger side of USAC. But Jason and I just want to do fun events. We've had a bunch of people call and say, hey, why don't you come out to this track or that track and do a race? And it's like, yeah, anybody can do that. We're in this to do something different, something fun. And if it's not fun, I don't care to do it.
And that's absolutely right. One thing I did notice too about was 17 the first year for Brickyard?
For both.
Yeah,
For both? Okay.
Yeah. About a month apart. We had
Yeah, that's
trial
right.
by fire.
I'm sure that was fun for you guys back at home. I remember it was the first time we went out there during the drivers' meeting. The first thing that Rick Folk said was, we're here to, yes, it's the Ambulance Motor Speedway. You guys weren't a series. You were a series kind of, but you only had 2 races on the calendar. It wasn't like there was any championship points. He said, we're in Indianapolis. We're here to have fun for a cool event. And it was ran like that. It wasn't, it was ran perfectly organized, but it wasn't having like a national race feel behind it to where it felt like you had to be competitive or anything like that.
That was the mindset. Mike's whole mindset was this needs to be club level as far as like somebody that runs a club race, but on a national scale.
Right.
Think SCCA runoffs almost, where everybody comes in, everybody runs, but we're going to make this special. We're going to show everybody how to do it, give them something that they've never done before. And then Elkhart was really the same deal as far as an event was. Everything's in town. The concert stage is in the pit area. The fans are mingling. It's not where it's sectioned off and fans aren't allowed near you. We want the fans in the pit area with you, kind of like an HRA,
right?
Where they can see everything, they can talk to you, they can experience it. They're right there, right next to the grid, the entire 9 yards. Shake your hand, whatever. It's really the feel for it that Mike envisioned, that we all took a hold of and ran with. Was just, it was going to be a different deal. I remember one of the very distinct things that Rick said during our planning meeting on Thursday night going into it was no black flags, meatball flags. Just if we get somebody sideways out there, let's use a meatball flag instead of a black flag just to get them off the track, and then we'll talk to them.
Okay.
Versus you see the black flag and you get wound up and tempers start to flare, and let's try it this way. And it worked really well, and we didn't even have to use it. Everybody the entire weekend understood why they were there, and they continued it. I think I've only had like one issue where we've had to do an actual black flag the entire time in 4 years of doing Indy. And think of starting out with 250, 300 competitors the first year, all the way up to 500s, pushing 600 every year after that, and only one black flag.
That's very impressive.
Everybody's taking it to heart what it means.
Well, especially at a track like Indy, first off, there's no tracks that can compare to Indy or Elkhart, and they're 2 different, unique tracks for different ways. I think someone said it perfectly. It might have been Randy Kugler, said that it mixes road racing with sprint racing because it's such a wide track, but it's not that long of a track. It's a little bit shorter than Newcastle Motorsports Park, about 2 times the size of here, but this is a bull ring. But it mixes both sides of it, so you're seeing both national guys, local guys, road racing guys, everyone having a good time there. And I think everyone kind of respects that because at Elkhart, you got curbs, you're in the street race, everyone's back of the mind, everyone has to go to work the next day. While as Brickyard, you're going so fast, first off, you don't want to tear anything up. And second off, you don't want to be that guy. When you're pushing 400 or 500 car count in total, there are bigger classes. And you'll be known as that guy who takes out half the field on lap 5, just from what I could see it as.
No, you're right. And it's funny, like Mike and I, we look for guys, like I said, the whole club level atmosphere. Like Rob Howden said it best the first year him and David Cole got to run there was, this is amazing. There's guys in pickup trucks next to semi-trailers.
Yeah.
Pitting out of their pickup truck. And Mike and I, we look for that. Like if you're working out of a pickup truck, we have got the perfect pit spot for you.
Absolutely.
We love you. You're going to love your weekend.
Yeah, okay, you get free shade.
Yeah.
That's true. I forgot about that. The overpass.
Yeah, the overpass of the parking garage there. If you're working out of the back of a pickup, you just come and pull in every day and work out of the back, and you're in the coolest spot in town in August.
Closest walk to the pits too, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's free.
Yeah, we don't want it to be exclusively where it's all big semi-trailers and all that, and everybody's hiding inside. Just it's nice having that everybody mingling, and they do. That's the best part about it. Is small trailers, pickup trucks, 53-foot semis, whatever it is. Everybody gets along at these events that we've been doing.
Absolutely. So we talked about Brickyard. I'm going to focus more on Elkhart now. Just from someone who's competed in it, I think every year the guys have ran it because it's been ran 3 times, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
17, 18, 19.
20.
Right. It is kind of like, I'm 21 years old. I can't say that I've been around back in the olden days, but it feels like a throwback race. With how you guys are talking about, the fans come up to you, like kids want to come up and get your autograph, which is someone who's running locally. That's the coolest thing in the world is if a kid wants your autograph. Everyone's having a good time. The concert is it Saturday night this year?
Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday night.
Headliners on Saturday.
What did you say?
The headline concert.
Concert is nothing like you've ever been before. And the fact that it's at night, too, a night street race, is a little bit wild. Or part of it's at night, I should say.
Yeah, Friday's under the lights. We'll have probably Ignite Dash, which will combine both Ignite classes into just a special race. And then we're actually with SCUSA with Summer Nationals going at Newcastle. We've had a couple of people reach out and it's like, hey, we want to bring shifter carts up here and run Friday night only.
Right.
So we're going to do a shootout Friday night for them. And then special payout, and then Saturday, whoever's left will run for the normal payout with the shifters then. But we had a bunch of shifter guys that they wanted to come run Elkhart.
That's
they missed running
for
it.
Sure. Just the whole layout of it and everything. And something I was curious about, too, where it's set up now is gorgeous with the Riverwalk, with how everything that is around it, with a pits area, the concession stands and everything set up. It's gorgeous. But what made the decision to not run it on the classic track that was ran back in the 70s and 80s?
There was some new businesses up there and everything, and they just thought it would interfere with their business. And then that Riverwalk really wasn't finished the exact same way as it was back in the 80s and early 90s when Elkhart Street Race was initially ran. So, just kind of keeping the local businesses happy, keeping them open and accessible, some different apartments in different places, and you can't restrict somebody from getting to and from their house.
Absolutely.
Obviously. But, I think the Riverwalk thing's really cool, running up the Nibco Parkway and everything. There's a new brewery in the middle there.
Interesting.
Yeah, Carter's. You're going to love that. There's a brewery in the middle. It has food and everything. It's a new place, different than it was a couple years ago. So I'm going to have to go over there and sample everything. And then, it's challenging because it's both tight and fast. So we got a few other challenges and I don't know how you'd say it. Things we're going to throw at it this year and just make it a little more technical maybe and a little more driver-oriented than just who's got the fastest motor.
And I think you guys have been a great improvement on that. The last time it was ran in 19 because it went from having the chicanes in turns, I believe it was 4, and then in turn 1.
Turn 1 and turn 4 both had the hairpins. And then
they took turn 4 out.
We got rid of the turn 4 hairpin. They started putting the islands across the Jackson Street Bridge.
Okay.
So that created an issue. And then the one complaint we always heard from everybody but the shifters, and even the shifter guys too, was having 2 hairpins choking everybody down.
Right.
So then the original plan wasn't so open, and it became open during track build, which was fine. And then we got rid of that hairpin and then threw that chicane in. And overall, it was really everybody loved the track, what it became in 19. And then for this year, we're going to throw some curveballs at everybody.
Okay.
We're going to make it interesting.
You going to drop a little bit of details, or is that details to come?
Plan to run it backwards this year.
Okay, that's interesting. Both days or just one?
Both days.
Both days.
Both days,
Yeah.
backwards. All right.
We're going to throw that big curve.
Okay, that's interesting though.
He races the Joker race.
You get a Joker lap. You gotta go the long way around.
Yeah.
I've wanted to do that.
Do a Joker lap.
Yeah.
I saw the meme on what was it, April 1st of 19, when
Yeah.
he talked about
Yeah.
doing a Joker lap. How close are you actually doing that?
It was an argument, with me
Yeah.
and Rick. I was all for it, but scoring was going to take some. It was going to take some work to score.
That would have made people's lives very interesting.
It was cool and like the global rallycross stuff. The
Yeah.
Joker lap was
Oh yeah,
awesome.
the GRCs.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes you think a little.
Yeah,
bit.
we loved it. It was kind of it was how do we actually physically pull it off on a street race, and then also the safety aspect to it.
That could be a little important for insurance wise, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Going back to Elkhart once more, something that I was very impressed by is how much typically, like I've been street racing for a little while. Burrell, you've ran a lot. You've ran a lot as well, Jason, with OMG. Sometimes some tracks you go to, businesses aren't too keen on you coming in, and so are parents. So are families that own houses. Something I noticed with Elkhart, though, is like I went to a Subway down the road. I could walk there, which was awesome from the pit area. And I was going and getting a Subway sandwich, and the dude was embracing it. He was like, you guys are bringing more people in. I see more customers. It seems like the whole town just gets behind it, and it's one huge event.
About 90% of it.
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least,
I mean,
so-
obviously, you can't make everybody happy.
Yeah, no.
No, you'll never dealing with temporary circuits. Even got to remember is with like Indy, it's a temporary circuit. You're
Right.
a guest of where you're at, so you do everything you possibly can to accommodate as many people, everybody. Really, it's not a matter of almost everybody. It's you accommodate everybody. You absolutely have to. Mike and I, we've had proposals for some other street races, trying to do a larger scale race.
Larger than Brickyard?
No, Elkhart Quincy style.
Okay.
But like, I'd be working on maps or something for Elkhart or Indy or mainly Elkhart, and then I'd cruise over to the next location, go through Google, and like, can't do it. It's like we're interrupting this business. It's like I can run the course this way, but we screw up a police department and McDonald's.
Right.
We can do it over here, but then it's not really that we lose the aspect of the course, and it just we've looked at stuff like that before, and we get, like I said, we get probably about 10 times a year we get people ask us, hey, what do you think here? What do you think there? And we research everything we can about it and locations and figure out how to make it fun as well as environment friendly for everybody else.
Right. Now, one question I had, you don't have to answer it. If you guys don't want to, we can move on to the next one. No awkwardness whatsoever.
Well, that's
But
getting weird.
Elkhart was a great race, and then it unfortunately went away, and then you brought it back. A certain track in Mooresville, Indiana, also was a great race. Any word about if there's been any communication for that one, or
Not with us.
not with you guys? Okay.
No,
Because I was lifeguarding there back in 2015, and the constant talk was about bringing Mooresville back. Through the workers, that is.
For,
and a little bit
for
of the town.
those of you listening to this that don't know of Mooresville in the park, we lost Quincy, and Mooresville became, like, we all kind of consider Quincy the Nürburgring. Well, Mooresville in the park, once Quincy was gone, definitely took the honors for Nürburgring.
Absolutely.
Very tight, very narrow, ungodly fast.
That was a track that put you into retirement from karting, wasn't it? Or helped you
Yeah.
along the path?
Yeah, you ran very tight course. Almost everybody in karting that ran there, you've got a war story from the place.
Yeah, I remember seeing you go up in the air a couple of times.
Yep.
Burrell, did you ever go off at Mooresville, or did you get away?
No, I got away with it.
Wow. My first memory of karting was Brooks Levy sending it over the bridge into a hay bale. And then, yeah, I've seen your accident too, Jason. And I think what was really cool about it was just how you had the proximity, how fast you were going. First off, it was ungodly fast because there was no chicanes or hairpins or anything to slow you
No,
down.
it was fast.
But you had trees 3 feet away from the track.
Yeah.
That gave you the sense of how just how
And they
fast you were
the
going.
one year they planted baby trees, so going down a couple years later, the baby trees were now bigger baby trees.
Yeah, they no longer would break. If
And you had all day. Sierra, it was a great program with Sierra. Is back in the day, it wasn't 2-day races. It was a 1-day show on Sunday, and then Saturday you'd practice all day. And you literally with Mooresville, you'd go out and you'd be like 50% first session,
If that.
60% second session. I mean, you really had to ramp yourself up like sports car, Indy car on a street race where you had to just acclimate yourself throughout the day. I mean, even going up the back stretch or down, depending on which direction they ran it, because they would run it different direction every year.
Yeah.
And going uphill where it was turning left, like the morning first couple practice sessions, the trees and the walls and hay bales and all that, you got up to the corner they called El Diablo at the top.
Double right-hander.
And yeah, double right-hander with a bump as you turned in. And the bump went all the way across the track. It was a big seam, and it would get the cart airborne mid-apex. But like in morning practice, it was dark, like driving into a tunnel up there.
Mm-hmm.
It
How
was
thick the trees were.
Alex Angel said it best. It was a great track to drive, but a very sketchy place to race.
Absolutely. I remember one year they put a bus stop chicane going up the hill where the
Yes.
bike path was.
We were
They put a bus stop
turning
chicane.
right that year.
One of my first memories as a kid when I was running Yamaha there was you and a couple other guys from OMG, and they said that they moved the barriers out. I remember, I don't know if it was you or John Crow, just kind of going like, that ain't going to last too long, because you guys would just run it so much and so close to it that it widened the track back out.
Well,
By the time us juniors went around, there was the bus stop.
2005, I think. Because that was when OMG were still kind of in between Corsa and Margay.
Mm-hmm.
We had the black and yellow Corsa carts. And it was kind of funny. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had in karting. Went up the hill and you had that chicane there. Hit it, and the fast way through, following Scott Hamble, figured out he was cutting the entrance because there's no barriers there. Cutting the entrance through the grass, and you'd hit the little dip down there. And finally, by the features, it started unsettling the cart and hit the bump, and this is a Yamaha pipe, so much faster than a can.
Right.
You'd have to tap the brakes going into the exit of the chicane. And going into the chicane, hit the bump, left foot came off the pedal and went under the brake pedal.
Ooh.
Yeah, that got real sketchy real quick at that place.
Oh, I'm sure it did. Going back to Elkhart, though, how did one of my favorite things about doing it, and I believe it's with 206 now, no longer 80s, was the dual race that you guys had, the Elkhart duels. How did that come about? I believe, was it the Allards who sponsored it the first year, and how'd that come about?
Yeah, Troy Allard has been a big help with everything at that race and his ABC excavating company. He sponsored, when he was racing shifters, the shifter duels, and now he's moved over to the 206 stuff. So we're gonna do dual 206s. I can't talk. And but Troy has just been an amazing help. That's his hometown area and everything.
Yeah, they're from like 20 minutes down the road or something
Yeah,
like
from
that.
I think Bristol up there, and so they're about 20 minutes away. He does a lot of business in Elkhart County and everything, and it's just been a good way for him to give back to karting and his local community.
So just tell us about how it works, just for people listening who may be interested in going, about how the duels work.
We Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, it's basically you're gonna practice qualify Friday evening, and then Friday night you're gonna line up off of qualifying, and we'll throw some sort of invert in there to make it interesting for you. And you're gonna run a full feature Friday night, and then you're gonna turn around and haven't figured out how to set the lineup for the heat race yet. Still working on that. Might be your fastest lap from Friday night. We'll set the lineup for you for the heat race on Saturday. Do the heat race Saturday late morning. And then the second duel will be the end of the afternoon on Saturday evening.
Okay. And one of the things I've heard too, and I've respect you guys so much for doing this, being able to pull it off the past couple of years, was, I forget who told me it, but it was one time in a SEER race, they said if they go out of 50 miles of Indianapolis, they have a hard time getting karters. And at Elkhart, that seems like it hasn't been a problem because you pull a whole bunch of entries every year for it. For the people who may be on the edge, just tell us a little bit about why you think that everyone should go up. Obviously, we know because we've been there. It's an all-out party all weekend. Unless you're a kid, then it's a really fun event. Parents, it's very family-friendly for everyone of all ages. But if you're a single guy in your 20s, it's also a lot of fun. But why do you think a lot of people should go up there and be running Elkhart?
Yes, those.
Yes, everything.
It's just it's an event. I mean, how many karting races do you go to every year? And it's just, you unload your stuff, you race it, you load your stuff back up, you may high five a couple buddies, but this one you got, the whole community's out to see you. There's there's always stuff going on. There's a whole kids zone where kids can go climb rock walls and things. I think Kevin Miller, USAC CEO, told me he's got a zip line for this year.
Oh, really?
All this stuff's free. I mean, so like, my family isn't big into racings, but my wife and son are coming, and they'll just go play around all day, and so there's something to do for everybody, even if they're not into racing. Just bring your whole family, and the wife and kids that don't race will find something to do, and the dad and kids that do race will have fun, and and then come together at night, and there's good concert, and the fireworks shows. I mean, it was phenomenal. Past
New York City.
Yeah, I mean, it was
You didn't have a problem walking in the dark during that one.
No.
No, I think Mike and I leaned over to each other. I just looked. I was like, how much did we just spend on fireworks?
It's surprisingly not as much as you'd think.
Yeah.
It was a really good deal the guy does, because I guess after July 4th they're in much fireworks business. So, it's just, it's neat to go to a go-kart race, and Goodland's another one that used to be like this. I'm sure it still is probably. But you'd go and you're like a local celebrity for the weekend.
Absolutely.
And, people know it's in town, and, like you said, going down a subway in your driver's uniform. I mean, somebody was like, "Oh man, you're a driver," and they're all quizzing you on it. And it's neat to feel like you're a big-time racer for a weekend.
Oh yeah, I did that for my self-esteem too.
Yeah,
I walked in
exactly.
there
Yeah,
just knowing I was.
absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, it's neat for karters to come out, get that interaction with the public and everything. It really pumps your ego up that you're actually doing something.
Oh yeah, but then you come back down, you got a huge head, and they think you're a hotshot.
Yeah, well, we'll meatball flag you or black flag you and get that all taken care of.
So for those of the people back at home who don't know, that's August 12th and 13th, I believe.
13th, 14th.
13th and 14th.
Yep.
That's a Friday, Saturday.
Yep.
That's another thing that's cool about the event is that you have this. Never do you get to race karts and have a Sunday off where you can just either travel back home and stay the Friday night or what have you. That's a really cool event. You guys run such a good program. I really want to see a duel this year, not only because you allowed me to be annoying and announce on a microphone, but also because it's just cool to see the whole town get behind it. When I first started running there as a kid, it was awesome. Like you said, it was 7,000 or 8,000 people. With how it's lined up down the front stretch, you think it's like 15 or 20,000. First time I ever saw a drone flying in a kart race was when we were lined up on the 80 grid, and you had the drones flying over. I got really cool videos of it. What are you two looking forward to about it this year?
Looking back to just in general this year, being back to street racing.
Yeah, absolutely.
After last year of not having anything, it was weird, and we were able to pull Brickyard off, but then during Brickyard planning, we knew we were going to lose Elkhart last year, just watching numbers, and I was pretty much, unfortunately, I was the guy in the war room on that one the entire time while we were doing Brickyard, going, we got problems, and we'll deal with it after Indy. So the main thing is new mayor, welcoming him to this event, and then just the atmosphere is none other. Quincy, Goodland, Commercial Point, they all have that deal with the crowd and all that. The major thing with this is
you interact with the crowd.
You interact with the crowd at all these events, Rock Island as well, but then the concert stage is in the pit area.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, people are like thinking about going home in 2019 and just pulled out their chairs and got the chairs back out of the trailer like, we'll just stay the night. We're going to enjoy the concert.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally, you got the concert going on in the pit area, Friday night, Saturday night, the fans, the atmosphere. And it really is the thing that Rick and Mike have had to talk me down every year I'm planning is it's not a race. Remember, it's not just a race. It's an event. We're the sideshow on this.
We are, and that's what's crazy
That's
about it.
how big of an event it is. This is like, it's a big festival for the town, and the karts are just a part of it.
Mike, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
Just getting there, getting it all. Once the track starts going and once practice starts, I'll be really satisfied.
Yep.
Then most of the hard work's done, but just looking forward to being back, and hopefully everything's normal and smooth.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to entries coming in too.
Why don't you go ahead and do your little bit about that?
Do a little plug on that.
Okay, 2 cycles. Yamaha guys, we always hear that your class is dying. We're giving you classes every year. Enter. And the biggest thing for event planning, and this goes for everybody in promotions, Guys, enter. Don't wait until the last minute. I'm working on 3 different timelines for this class is running, this class isn't running. Just we don't know what to plan for because, especially with street racing, the mentality is to not enter until the absolute last
so you
minute.
see the weather.
Yeah. It's like it makes event planning so hard just to know what we're up against. It's just not Elkhart. It's literally every single big event you go to for the most part, with the exception of the 24 hours or Simcraft 24 hours in NOLA, where TJ, I think we had the entries were filled within 2 weeks.
Dang, 2
Yeah,
weeks.
2 weeks. 24 hours sold out.
How many entries or cars is that?
I think we're running 36 entries.
When's
33 or 36. That'll be December.
Oh, it's in December. and
Yeah,
they're sold
December
out?
2nd, 3rd, 4th. Yeah,
Wow.
we literally, TJ opens up the entries, and we're doing all the event planning behind the scenes. The entries open up in like January, and they're literally sold out by February.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But now, is this the first year for Nola? Because it was a new
Yes.
or,
Orlando.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the first year in NOLA, so.
That'd be a cool one. Nola's
Yep.
a cool track. It's
Yeah.
physical
Oh, it
too.
is.
Yes.
I want to go back just a little bit to Brickyard in 2020. How many numbers was it in the 600s for numbers for that event? Or 500 maybe? 500s?
5 and change.
Yeah, it was 5 and change. It really got chaotic going up to race week. Reopening entries changing around and all that stuff, accommodating for people. We said we'd
People
cap.
dropping, people,
Yeah.
I popped hot for COVID, I can't come. And,
Yep.
we just,
It was the second largest karting event last year.
In the US, wasn't it?
Yeah, the only thing bigger was the Mid-Ohio road race.
That's right.
Yeah, like 700 or 800 entries, something ridiculous.
I know they had 75 shifters out there.
Exactly, which that's great for road racing. Road racing's been road racing for a while. You hadn't had that draw to it, and then Margay, MGM, Rick Folks really have been hitting the market well for Daytona even, and running an Ignite class, running an MGM class at Daytona, and really getting people into road racing. And it's great to see a resurgence in it now.
Absolutely. And one of the things I wanted to just comment on is your guys' adaptability for that event during coronavirus in 2020 was amazing. Because I'm sure your guys' regulations changed every 5 minutes with that.
Yeah. And literally the day we're out there, I think Friday that we're out there practicing is when the health department and IU Health and kind of came and told Mr. Penske he wasn't going to have any fans for the 500. And so we're out there tooling around the go-karts, and they're like, what the heck's going on here? And it's like, oh, crap. So, yeah, it changed every 5 minutes. That whole year was a mess, and,
learned a lot of adapting. I think one of the meetings that Mike had at the Speedway was they were preparing themselves to be able to hold any certain event at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway within 3 weeks last year.
Okay.
Which is asinine when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because you
all
have to
planning
deal
goes
with
into
all
it.
the support, all the different series, support involved for the series, just what the Speedway was doing, and they worked with us around the clock. I mean, the state threw a mandate out 1 week because the governor would say one thing, then the mayor would fight him and say another thing the next week. And literally the Friday night before the event, the mayor changed all the guidelines. We had everything approved, everything ready to go, and then get home at 4 o'clock from Shadow on Friday and call Mike. It's like, okay, what do we got to do here? And we start running the numbers and all that. And it's like, we need bottom line numbers. What do we think? This, that, the other. Doug, Kevin, I know I'm forgetting all sorts of names, but a lot of people on IMS's side.
Dan Skyver and Jason Pennick
Yes.
were huge help.
Everybody was just working around the clock. I mean, and it was event planning 101. We need younger guys coming into the sport. I came in my early 20s and started getting into this stuff, and now I'm in my 40s. We need younger blood helping out. I always see it on the internet of, man, you need to do this, you need to do that. put yourselves in our shoes for a while. I mean,
We got you drafted.
Yep.
Oh boy.
We were literally, especially with the COVID stuff. I mean, there were nights we were going till 4 a.m. in the morning working on proposals to make sure the event was going to happen, and we had everybody in air en route from California and all that on Sunday, not knowing if Brickyard
was even going
to happen the next weekend. And then literally, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, we got the final okay from the state on it.
Yeah,
that
it was
we were
Tuesday
signed in.
because we were moving in on Wednesday.
And it was like, what's the plan? It's like, just keep going status quo right now and be prepared with the panic button.
We, as people who, I mean, I am nearly not involved as you guys are. I just get paid to show up and be annoying into a microphone for 2 days and then go home. But you guys obviously do all the backside of it and everything. But from my standpoint and the people who came as a driver, the overall thing that I heard is that you guys handled it really well. Like you said, the adaptability, everyone was watching and lived in Indiana, how much it was changing. But the way how it came in, you took temperatures before you even were allowed to go into the pit area and had to get a wristband before you came in. I didn't know how many people were actually there until I was told to be there at 7. I got there at 6:50 and it looked like a 20-minute line, and Burrell had to actually come up and grab me. He was like, up here before we're late.
It was
but everyone got through quickly as well.
We fortunately I started to get my feet wet in it July with IMSA at the first race back for IMSA was at Daytona, and that was like the very limited fan capacity, and that was kind of a test run there. But like I went through, photoed everything. I actually put everything up on social media so everybody could see it, because a lot of people, it's like, I understand you don't like it, but we have to do what we have to do to make events go forward right now.
Absolutely.
And it actually wasn't bad, and I gave Mike and Rick, gave them the talk on everything, how it went and what we had to jump through, and then the Speedway was already on board with similar plans, and really it was kind of a test run for the Speedway, because we were the first event
of the year
at the Speedway at that point. So it's kind of a test run for them as well. And the main thing for us was on the karting side was how well everybody from the karting world helped out. Hey, you got to have masks on. Everybody did it.
Absolutely.
We got issues. Everybody is like, we hate to see it, because for Indy, it's bring everybody you can. We don't do the pit pass thing. We want everybody to be there. You only have to have a pit pass if you're in the hot areas, because we want your family to be able to enjoy this moment. And we told everybody once we knew we were coming down the pipes with it's going to happen, but we got issues. And it's like, hey, we got to limit you. Keep grandma home. Keep grandpa home. Keep your sister, brother, whoever home, cousins home. We got to limit you here, limit you there. Everybody was so receptive, and just the whole karting world, how helpful they were to really make that happen last year.
And for me, first off, I don't think I can thank you guys enough for everything. If Sean Burkle, unfortunately, couldn't be here right now, he would say the same thing. You guys took a chance on both of us, him doing photography, me with announcing. I was already trying to get my feet wet. Randy Kugler, I hope you're hearing this. He helped me out immensely with the whole weekend, and you two gave me the opportunity to. I probably would not be here right now if it wasn't for you guys. So on behalf of Sean and myself, thank you guys so much for what you've done. But what was weird for me was that, so it's about the Brickyard. I'm trying to be a sponge and just learn everything from Randy, because he has so much information and knowledge.
Absolutely.
And he's extremely good at what he does. So I'm just trying to learn and improve and figure out what I can differently. But what was weird was coming from a driver who'd been there the previous years when there wasn't any issues with COVID or anything, looking out, and you had that mounds, because the pits also changed for 2020.
Yep.
The pits used to be over by, it was a Holman Boulevard, I believe.
Yeah.
And there was a mound, and it'd be nothing but just spectators. And it took a lot to get in from like driving all the way around. And it wasn't just families. It was, I saw people I went to high school with, parents, people I swam with, parents were out there watching. They had no idea I was there, but they just heard about a karting event, so they came out and watched it. And the mound was just packed full of people and walking up the pit lanes and everything. But it was different though from going to that onto 2020, where it was, I mean, you would see the mechanics line the front stretch or whatever that were just watching, but it wasn't, like you guys said, it's different not having all those people there.
Yeah, I mean, I really got that throughout the summer doing a couple races, and it's kind of Road America spoiled us, because we got there in July, I think, June or July, and there's fans.
Yeah.
Like it was the biggest fan-attended race in the country last year. And then you got back to here, and it was just like nothing going on. And then Indy 500 was so weird last year.
How was that at spotters for you guys, not having fans? Because you guys both spotted, right?
Yeah.
It hit weird when they did the 21 gun salute, and you could hear it echo throughout the place.
Really?
Off the aluminum bleachers.
I hung out with the fans outside for like an hour and a half before the race. We went to, it was weird because it was a late start time too. Mm-hmm. It was like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock start time. So like a bunch of the spotters, we went to Charlie Brown's that morning, and I went to the trailer, grabbed a bunch of hero cards, and came back and spent like 90 minutes, 2 hours outside with the fans just hanging out because we missed them. And the weirdest part for me was being one of the first guys to get up there to turn 3, and you walk up there and it's race day and it's empty. Sun reflecting off the bleachers, nobody there. It really hit home at that point that we were about to do this.
Was this year a little bit better? Did it feel like, I'm sure it didn't feel exactly the same, but I'm sure it was better for you guys.
It was probably 80-90% normal feel.
Yeah.
Come race day.
It was phenomenal. It really was. It really felt back to normal for the most part. It just, you didn't have anything on the infield, so like the turn 3 didn't look like the dancing lemurs from Madagascar for 5 hours solid.
Talking about the snake pit?
Yep, the snake pit. That was kind of weird. The other weird thing was kind of normal. It was always used to having everybody shake your hands and high five you walking up, and didn't get that as much as what we normally do, but had a couple people stop us and thank us and all that as normal. I was like, no, thank you. We're glad to see you guys back here this year.
Oh, I'm sure. But all right, so going on to the spotting thing, I kind of heard this when I went out, and I was kind of gelling with you guys at Buckeye Karting. We were at, I think we went to Beat Ups first, then we went to Texas Roadhouse. And I heard you and Rick going back and forth. I'm just curious between you two, because I've heard you and Rick, but you two, who has the most 24 Daytona rings and who has the most 500 ones between you two?
Oh.
He's the only one that's got any of them, I think.
I've got Indy. I got one Indy 500, one Brickyard Grand Prix with IMSA, and Freedom 100 with Indy Lights.
Do you have
but one
24?
Indy 500. I've got 5 24s.
Okay. But Burrell, you don't? I thought you had a couple.
No, I don't got anything.
Even when you were a mechanic?
Yep.
Yeah, the one year it ended up in the wall. Sharp. Wasn't it?
That car then.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I heard you and Rick going back and forth
I
about
can't
it.
remember how many 24s Rick has.
He's got a decent amount, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
he does. Yeah, him and Jim Fry, and Jim's son is with Ray Hall on the BMW program as well, and they've had a really good run the last couple of years.
Absolutely. Well, I can't even talk to you guys coming out. Like we said before, Elkhart Grand Prix, 13th and 14th, up in Elkhart, Indiana. It is a gorgeous event. Fans come out. Beautiful backdrop with everything, with the small businesses, with the river walk. You go over a bridge twice. We're in at night, which you never see in a street race, and it is beautiful event. Everything is awesome. Apparently, it's going to be ran backwards this year, too. I hope I didn't force that out too soon from you guys.
No.
No one's going to hear this until tomorrow. But thank you guys for coming out again. I look forward to working with you guys, and again, thank you for the opportunity up at Elkhart. Hopefully I don't see Mike Burrell outside of there, since you're a cop up at my good old college. I have a conversation. I'm pretty sure
Your
talked about
dad
that.
told me where you live.
Oh boy. All right, hopefully I'll see you next semester then. But this is episode number 2 of our podcast. Sean Burkle unfortunately couldn't be here. Him and I are both going to be on the road. We're at Stars next weekend, and then we're in North Carolina for IME, and then we're at week off in Elkhart. So hopefully here in a couple weeks we'll have episode 3 out. So thank you for listening. Please give us a like and subscribe and follow. Comment whatever you think we should improve on, and race on.